Hello, everybody, and welcome to the POAP Community Call number 26. Glad to have you here today. We definitely have an important topic that we're going to be talking about today, but also a special guest on here who's going to be talking about, I guess, what would also be an important project in the Ethereum ecosystem. But my name is Mr. Mojo, and I am glad to be here today. I'm here with a bunch of my friends. Superphiz, would you like to say hello?
Hello, I'm Superphiz.
And we also have Nixorokish up here again. Glad to have you back.
Hello. Glad to be back.
And Logic Beach making another appearance up here this week. Hello, hello.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Logic Beach calling in from the great state of denial.
And our first special guest today is Isabel from POAP. Hello, good to have you on.
Hey, Mr. Mojo, how are you?
Doing good. And Hanniabu, hello. You're going to be talking about Project Sunshine later, but you're also on the POAP team. Welcome up as well.
Hey, everybody.
But all right. And Frankie, you're up here as well. You want to go ahead and say hello? A little shy? That's all right. Always good to see Frankie up here on the stage. No problem. It's always good to see Frankie up here on the stage. But all right, everyone, again, welcome to the POAP Community Call. We do have a Slido where you are able to send us anything that you want. You can ask us questions, you can give feedback, you can do whatever you want. It's basically a Reddit-style form where you click the upvote button and the ones that have the most votes go up to the top. But pretty much anybody that puts anything on there, I'm reading it, so don't fret. But Logic Beach, we use the DGEM bot to distribute our POAP here in this call. Do you want to explain how that works?
Sure, will do. So the DGen bot is keeping track of everyone who is currently listening in on the community call in the community chats channel. As long as you are in this call for at least 10 minutes, the bot will collect your Discord handle and you will be able to claim the POAP at the end of the show. Yeah, I think that's about it. We can describe exactly how that's done at the end.
Yes, whenever it is time to claim, we will give a few instructions on how to do that, but I don't want to hold this up any longer because we do have a major news story for everyone here. So, one of the most important aspects of POAP is, of course, creating the POAPs themselves, making those events, having event organizers come together and bring POAP to life. And Isabel is here today to talk about some new POAP issuer guidelines that were just released. So, Isabel, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away. I'm going to go ahead and post the links to the guidelines in the community calls channel as well here in the Discord so that you can follow along as well.
Thanks, Mojo. I think, if I'm not mistaken, someone, I Decentralized, has posted them in the announcements channel as well for anyone that's missing. But I think I actually kind of wanted this to be a little bit more of an open forum conversation because everyone can read the guidelines. They're published on the internet, and there's a small discourse forum where you're welcome to kind of have conversations and answer some jumping off point questions. But I think I kind of wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about, well, first of all, why we decided to publish these. One day the curation body will have a formal policy. Until then, we have, the first iteration called the POAP Issuer Guidelines. And our intention with this was really just to introduce a little bit of transparency around the POAP review process and try to start coordinating the community to move in the same direction and to give some clarity around how it is that we think about POAP and about the development of the protocol, about the development of the ecosystem, ultimately about what we believe is going to be transformative technology in the next 10 years of human social interactions. I think I kind of did like a little bit of a thread on Twitter, but the TLDR is, that we can't go the road alone. Ultimately, I think the only way things get done is when the community pushes together in the same direction. And the only way we can have that happen is if we make our thinking clear. So we've introduced these issuer guidelines as, first of all, a way of allowing issuers to kind of get some guidance from the curation body in the process of getting their POAPs submitted and reviewed. Eventually, hopefully, in the process of introducing an onboarding system and things like this for new POAP issuers. But ultimately, the idea is really to inspire some conversation by the community around what POAP is, what POAP is for, how it is that we're all using the protocol, what is and isn't good usage of POAP, and any other POAP-related questions. I think the things with communities, like questions about, who is and isn't a part of the community, who is and isn't part of the conversations, where these conversations happen, and all of those sorts of things are of major concern to us internally, and we're trying to bring some of those discussions out to the public so that we eventually get, a common train of thinking along with the general POAP ecosystem. So maybe as a little bit of a jumping off point, I actually wanted to invite everyone on this call to try to introduce some of their thinking around a lot of these topics. So I think I kind of have some structure for the conversation on the issuer guidelines themselves. But the first question I wanted to open to anyone on this panel or in the audience, if you want to come up and raise your hand, is actually the question about like how the POAP community can contribute to the conversation around curation body policy. Where do you all want to add suggestions for how we, the things that we need to clarify, the things that we need to make up our minds on as a community, and how we drive those consensus mechanisms. So sort of like the format in which the discussion takes place, where it takes place, how it should take place.
So I actually have a kind of a broad question, and
definitely.
To be honest, I'm hesitant to ask because like I should have talked to you about it privately first, but I do think it is something that the community is broadly interested in, and it's not like a gotcha question. But most of the current products, the Web3 products that we see right now, that have a sincere intention to involve the community, do that through a DAO, and it's interestingly different that it looks like at this point POAP is taking a slightly different direction. Is that something you can just comment on? Because it sets the stage for like where we are and where we're headed.
It sets the stage for a lot of things, and Superphiz, I'm actually super glad you asked, and thank you for helping me get some of my thinking on the topic straight. So one of the things that we observe with many DAOs that happen today is that they tend to be various kinds of dysfunctional because humans haven't really figured out a good way to do collective governance. And I mean, you can make the argument here and there, but at least from our internal observations, eventually things tend to grind to a halt. There tends to be either governance capture or other problems. Things never get done because things are an endless conversation. So DAOs, I think, are still a largely like call it in to be invented art. So one of the things that we've decided to do at POAP, somewhat intentionally, is take the route of progressive decentralization. Zooming out a couple of steps, if our goal is ultimately to build this like public good for the preservation of memories that we expect to be social technology for transforming the next decade of human interaction, right? One thing is that we need to survive long enough to get to a point where humanity as a whole is ready to adopt this kind of technology. Web3 is right now in its nascent stages, and we're not there. The other thing is that we need to get to a point where, as a protocol, as a community, as a group of people, not just the ones that are working at POAP, but also the ones that are interested in whatever happens in the ecosystem broadly, have a format of interacting, making decisions, steering things that makes sense and is robust enough that, in fact, a DAO is something that, when launched, can take shape, right? So I think to kind of answer your question, the way that we're approaching this and looking at this right now is basically in taking the time to figure out how to do it right. And that's something that we need to do somehow in collaboration with the community. Although the perfect format for something like this is something we've had difficulty in discovering, because POAP at this stage, unlike the vast majority of Web3 projects that are newly nascent, is actually a relatively more mature ecosystem for something of its kind, right? We're a community of over 700,000 collectors, probably over I can't remember if it's 20,000 issuers, but there's like a substantial, maybe that's an order of magnitude off. Maybe it's like 6,000 or 8,000 or something. But so there's a lot of people that are affected, involved in the various decisions we make. There's 234, last I remember, people that build on top of the proof of attendance protocol. And I think it's part of the issue is that when we're trying to start the process of governance this late in the game with this much kind of bulk to try and steer, one of the big challenges is actually figuring out how you involve all of these people in the process in a way that is thoughtful in a way that prioritizes the voices that have truly given a lot of thought to what they're saying, and a bunch of those other sorts of considerations. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, or at least starts to tangentially address some of it. I hope it does. So the basic idea is like, it's not that we want to go in the opposite direction, it's that we're trying to steer our way through this.
Yeah, I think, the important thing, when any large Web3 organization says the word governance, the first thing that participants ask themselves are, where's the token? And I think it's so important for POAP to put out there at the beginning that, hey, no, we're doing actual governance. We're not just trying to do governance theater so that we can create something and launch a token and create some kind of trade value. Like this is actual governance.
Yeah, so it's kind of more, at this stage at least, about learning how we make collaborative decisions in a structured way with good outcomes, which is a much harder problem than launching a token. And so, when we talk about the things that we're trying to do, it's not that there is a playbook, but we are trying our best to navigate the waters. So I actually really appreciate you casting some light on that question, because I know that the way POAP operates as a Web3 company that seems to be a company in many respects creates confusion for some people. I think largely our viewpoint has been that at this stage, we're not actually quite that good at communicating either what our goals are, what we want to be, the kind of world that we want to see. And so it's very difficult for the community to make decisions that are aligned with what the ethos of POAP is. And so a lot of the intent behind starting some of these steps in the direction of community building actually is to put that ethos out there and to get some conceptual alignment around what is POAP, what is POAP for, who is POAP for, how can it be used, in what and all of those sorts of questions, right? And so I think that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, I actually like that in these guidelines at the bottom, there's actually an outline of the amount of mint links that people should request based on the type of event that they're running. It's definitely a question that people ask me every now and then, where it's like, hey, Mr. Mojo, you know a decent amount about POAPs. How many should I request for whatever event they're doing? And now that I can just send them a link somewhere and be like, okay, which ones does this fall under? Or even I can study it and instantly know, okay, hey, you might want to have this many. It's really good. It's a great way for people to quickly figure out a good starting point for their event.
Yeah, so I think like for us, this was largely about providing at least a sense of like orientation of what might be reasonable, right? We call them guidelines for a reason. At this point, they're not prescriptions. If you know for a fact you're going to need substantially more than this for reasons that are very good reasons, by all means you can ask for that. And especially as experienced issuers that have been using POAP a lot in their communities for the last however long they've been doing it, at some stage that is something that they have a strong case for, and we do want to not only accommodate that, but actually encourage it at some level, right? I think our biggest thing has been trying to understand how to provide guardrails for new issuers that are kind of trying to familiarize themselves not only with the protocol, but also with the things that do and don't work in Web3, the typical pitfalls with, call it the farmers, Sybil attacks, whatever have you. The people that are trying to still get their orientation, get their bearing, to at least give them something to grab onto that, gives them, here is what might generally be okay. And that way they start going somewhere at least on the right track, right? As opposed to starting in a disoriented, confused ocean of unknowing things.
Yeah, one of the, I guess you could call it complaints that I hear from some event organizers is that it takes way too long, and that, POAP had rejected my petition. But now in these guidelines, it shows that there's going to be 3 different sorts of things that can happen during your review process. So you can get an approval without comment. So basically your best case scenario, you go ahead, you get your POAP approved and you're able to use it. Or then there's two more, which is a request for information, which is just saying, hey, this is fine, but like we have to get a little more information to make sure that this decision is going to be a good one. And then, of course, we're going to approve it under a certain condition, change something about it. Or I guess now that I think about it, a fourth one, which would just be straight up denial of your POAP. Is there anything else that you would be able to add to that, or why those are basically the route that needed to be taken at the moment when it comes to the POAP curation?
So I think it has to do mostly with what we have the capacity to do as a team, right? At some point, there are some use cases that do meet the guidelines and everything is perfect and things are good. There's some things that mostly meet the guidelines and maybe you need a little bit of help, to tweak this or that. And that actually has mostly to do with our product being either insufficiently polished or not allowing you to do the things that it should allow you to do. And that's usually when we will, maybe have a bit of a back and forth with the issuer to sort the thing out. But ultimately, the idea is to get it over the line. Then you have the things that are kind of confusing, that just there wasn't enough information provided in the petition for us to be able to make heads or tails of whatever it is, and we just need more information. And there's actually, I think, a form that goes out. And then the final case is, the situation where whatever you are trying to do is just not something that is acceptable within the context of POAP, and either we misunderstood dramatically, in which case, please come to the appeals forum and we'll have a discussion. Or, in fact, it is just not something that you are able to do, and so that is unfortunately just not going to work. But I'm actually wondering if we can take this discussion a little bit in a different direction, rather than reviewing the guidelines, because I'm sure everyone on the call can read whenever they feel like reading. But actually talk more about all of this stuff around how we establish proper governance within the context of POAP, this massive sprawling ecosystem.
I'm probably the one with the broadest context, and I still
Yes.
Can you give us more to chew on with that? Because I like.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me maybe put it this way. So at Superphiz, I think you maybe have a very good idea of everything what POAP is about. I kind of have a good idea of what POAP is about. I think many of the people on this panel probably have their own general idea that it may be close to or maybe a little bit off from, but they're mostly the same idea. I kind of wonder often to myself, like, for people new to the POAP ecosystem, if you were to just drop in and get a POAP, one day, how would you develop a sense of orientation about what all of this is about, right? Where would you go for understanding where would you naturally want to go for understanding what this technology is intending to do, what anything is intending to do?
A YouTube channel that talks about it.
A YouTube channel. Okay, right
This
on.
guy who wants to start a YouTube channel that talks about it.
Okay, so Mojo, is that a self-interested comment?
No, it's not necessarily self-interested. It's actually what I do. If I'm really confused about something and I want to know more about it, I go to youtube.com and type it in. I really do. That's like my go-to.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
How do other people? Sorry, Superphiz, I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was gonna say, in my experience, it usually comes from that second layer community, with POAP being the first layer community, and then the second layer community is wherever you get that POAP. And so, we've done a lot of that in Rocket Pool and Eaststaker, and on Reddit, and so when we give those out, there's this conversation that surrounds it. Like, it begins with, hey, there's a POAP available, and then the questions begin like, what is POAP? How do I get this? Tell me about it. And that's where that education seems to come through. Like, it's on that, it's on the peer-to-peer level on the second layer communities.
So that's interesting. I think that kind of tells us, at least, that probably we need to do a much better job of helping issuers understand what we're trying to accomplish. That it's more than just a marketing gimmick. It's more than just a little thing that you do for community calls or whatever it is that it is.
Yeah, I definitely think providing those issuers with, some kind of link to, when people say, I was just thinking about a POAP that I got today, and I was watching the the discussion around it, and it was kind of like people asking, what is this? And if the issuers were provided, on the front end with a, oh, you're interested in POAP, here is, a link to that is essentially POAP education.
So I think that's kind of like the initial purpose of the curation body as it was established, and the direction that it'll kind of always be trying to evolve in really is like that point of contact between POAP and the community, right? POAP and its users, POAP and the collectors, POAP and the issuers, and trying to kind of, because the best way to understand things, I think, is at some point to look at it through the different lenses it can be seen, right? It's more than just reading an explainer, more than just a YouTube video. It is exactly, as you said, like a very much a thing of dialogue and conversation. And at some stage, what we aim to do as a curation body is actually be involved in creating that dialogue and maybe helping people ask themselves all of these questions around identity, attendance, participation, what it means to be involved in a community, what it means to what it means to get a POAP, but the implications of that, right?
You mentioned what it means to be a part of the POAP community, and that is, it's to me, it turns out to be a really, really interesting question because so the discourse is primarily right now about it's sort of a ticketing system.
It is a ticketing system. It's the best ticketing system that a non-technical person can come up with in 72 hours. Let me tell you, I tried.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be what it is.
No, and that's okay. But I often ask myself, where is the heart of the POAP community? And it's not. I'm not really sure where. So I imagine this place that is where you and I and Mojo and Patricio and all these folks kind of hang out and really just sort of talk about what POAP means to us. And maybe that's the community call, but there are only a few of us on stage. And maybe it's the POAP Discord, but that often feels like maybe just a different kind of thing. And so I wonder where everyone thinks, or where should be the heart of the POAP community.
So for me, you've nailed it on the head, right? Like, discourse is the logical place and the place that we hope to actually move all of these conversations in the broader format. Because the thing with the community call like this, and to the credit of you and everyone on this stage and everyone that typically joins the community call and participates and contributes in whatever ways they do, right now, this is the heart of the POAP community. This is where any discussions that are deeper about what the protocol is trying to accomplish take place on a weekly basis, for better or worse. Now, the thing is that Discord has its limitations, particularly this stage format where we are not able to see each other. We have trouble not talking over each other. It has a limit to the number of people that can be on stage, and otherwise it gets too noisy and things get confusing. And so in fact, what we want to do is have this slower, more thoughtful place where people are able to talk about the protocol, what it means to them, how they're using it in their communities, how they want to be using it in their communities, what they hope may one day be a possibility, what other people may hope one day will be a possibility, and all of those kinds of questions that I think ultimately create the backbone of what is a culture, right? So yeah, Superphiz, I think you are on fire today in terms of being on the ball with precisely what it is that we need to establish.
You know that I'm passionate about POAP. I no joke, I get irritated with this and that occasionally, but I am obsessed with the concept that lies under POAP. And we have this community call, and I think it's a great start, but I also I'm not here for today. I'm here for 5 years from now, realizing that this can evolve into a really interpersonally engaging, Sybil-resistant kind of public forum. And that's the kind of thing I'm sticking around for, because I do believe we're going to get there in time.
So I think that's a really interesting thing, because for me, I know it's the same, and I think for many of the people, both internal and external to POAP, there's probably some element of truth in there where Absolutely. Like there are things that, due to how nascent the thing is, how fast it's growing, and how many people are involved in all of this, it's a confusing ecosystem. It is a chaotic ecosystem, and there's frustrations. But we're all ultimately here for what we might be able to build together in 5 years, 10 years, for the good of like humanity as a whole, right? Like what we might be able to accomplish if we have a system for preserving memories, identity, experiences, in a way that belongs to each of us individually, but is shareable with everyone, in a way that allows you to, if you need to relocate for some reason, you can find the communities that are relevant to you, that were relevant to you wherever you lived before, right? If you are looking for a job, you have kind of a track record of the things that you've been interested in working on professionally in a creative capacity, right? And so I think that there's all of these possibilities and all of these different applications that, given that we have this system, become possible to consider. But we need to build the system first. And so all of us are here in the throes of building that system. And Superphiz, thank you for joining us in the struggle. And thank you to everyone on the call for joining us in the struggle.
Yeah, I'm definitely here for the long haul. That's I like what you said. Like it's not where we are today. It's where I know we're going. It's the same struggle with Ethereum. I'm not in Ethereum because of where we are today. I'm in Ethereum because I know where we're headed, and that's where I want to be. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, and because being a part of the things that it's one of those tricky things, right? That you can only get there if everyone goes together, or if enough people go together. It doesn't need to be everyone. But there need to be enough people pushing it in the same direction. Otherwise, what is it like? There's a saying: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Something like that. I think POAP, like without the enthusiastic support of our entire community, there are probably many points that we could have considered ourselves to be not underwater, but like in significantly hard situations, right? But with where we are, it seems we are happy to have that support of the various people that are involved. And now it's a matter of trying to actually create like one more layer of people who are not maybe necessarily the highly devoted insiders, but people who are able to keep track of the conversation, contribute their thoughts, and ultimately feel themselves becoming a part of this thing that we're creating.
Yeah, something with Discord, your audio isn't working well for me. I did catch most of that, but
sounded good to me.
Oh, it must be me. I'm going to exit and pop back in.
I'm going to jump in quick while we were talking about like locations and where we should focus our efforts and stuff in terms of like where do we try to centralize the community. And I think like I've already posted in the chat, but I'll say like, in my opinion, the like quote unquote best heart is going to be the place where you can pool the information from all the others. Because that is a thing we can do. Like we can have a Twitter community and a Reddit community and a discourse forum and all these other things and have them pool into one spot. And that's going to be the best place to go. And I think right now, Discord is the only place that lets us do that. I might be wrong, but I haven't found anything else that offers like a substitute in the way Discord's currently offering. So it does seem like this should be our focus for now.
So I think I like the line of thinking, but let me kind of workshop that with you a little bit. One of our challenges with Discord particularly has been like the speed of the forum, right? That there's I don't know how many thousands of people in this. And the fact of it being like a very instantaneous reaction thing means that keep up with what's happening, you need to be online constantly or have enough understanding of how to navigate whatever informational architecture exists that I'm not sure, like it currently doesn't exist in that format. Maybe it could exist. I'm not sure if it can, but maybe it could. But I think for me, like mainly it's about the speed of the interaction and the let's say, bias towards forcing people to reply instantly versus giving them the time to think about things for some time and then come back with something that is more thoroughly considered or involved, right? So those are kind of the trade-offs that I see between discourse and Discord in just the way that the information travels. Persistent.
Makes sense. You can have both. And then, like, and have like Discord or Reddit or discourse or Reddit linking to Discord, but the main conversation will still have to happen in a place that is fast flowing. It is worth noting So I'm just going to post this in the community call chat as well, like some screenshots. Discord is working on a long form post option, and it's currently in beta. So you can see a live screenshot of it running here. The Discord developer Discord has access to it already, but we don't. So you'll see that like in this, there is an actual opportunity to like go into a section where you create a question and other people answer on top of it. And this could become really useful for us when it comes out. So before we start pushing people really far, before we start trying to push people away, we could consider that this is coming in the pipeline and we may end up just trying to bring them back. So
definitely that's the thing. Like, I'm glad I know that now, but I didn't know that before. That's pretty awesome. I do kind of wonder, like, I think that there's probably a balance somewhere that is like the fast conversations happen here, and then at some point someone needs to take some time to synthesize the ideas, right, and move them. I don't know if it's out of Discord completely or to discourse or somewhere else, but ultimately, like, yeah, I think that the idea is definitely to give people a way to consolidate that and persist the information.
That's kind of how we operate at Rocket Pool, and I think that works really well. You know, you have your fast formulation of ideas within Discord, and then somebody takes the time and goes ahead and summarizes the conversation and where they arrived at on the forum for further discussion. And that's also nice because anybody can view it without needing to be logged in. Whereas if you use those Discord discussion threads, then they would need to have a Discord account and be logged in. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that not everybody's on Discord. So it's not as inclusive.
That's a fair point. Hanny, maybe actually, if I can ask you something related to that, that kind of touches on the topic. How do you guys decide who is going to be the person that champions that thread of conversation? Right, because like definitely everyone can contribute when it's all collaborative and like contributing little things here and there. But then someone needs to do the relatively harder work of like taking it, synthesizing, maybe thinking about and I don't know if it like presenting it in some sort of a format that people can digest if they were not a part of the original conversation.
Yeah, so it's typically the person that is the most knowledgeable, which also typically happens to be the person that originally brought it up because they're knowledgeable about it. They're aware of the issues and are able to speak in depth about the problem, which inspires them to, again, you know, bring it up and drive the conversation. And then other times it's just whoever has more time. And, you know, it doesn't take a genius to much copy and paste and summarize conversations that happen.
It does take a genius,
but
it's initiative.
Well, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, that
Like,
is the most important part, as well as time. I mean, sometimes you know, the conversation will be posted that night. Sometimes they'll just kind of, you know, settle down, and then next week or during the week or something, when everybody has the time, they'll write it up and then post it back in the chat to continue discussion.
well, one of the great community dynamics of places like that is if someone has an idea, and sometimes I will walk in with an idea and say, like, I'll dump it and say, if anybody wants this to happen, someone needs to pick it up and run with it. And so I have a good hit rate. 80% of the time, someone will say, I'm available. I love this. I want to run with it. And 20% of the time, it falls on deaf ears. And then I'm like, well, the idea must not be that worthwhile.
So that's definitely something that I know that we're like considering, right? Is that the whole idea of having something also like discourse, it doesn't have to be discourse, like, but I'm just kind of using for the sake of it, is that, you know, a lot of these ideas that people generate in internally in the community, everywhere else, all it really takes is more people having eyes on them sometimes to make these things happen, right? And that can be like a really magical thing and allow things to grow and evolve in a really organic way that I think we've always loved and enjoyed and definitely want to see more of.
Yeah, one of my
there's
hangups.
definitely a certain critical mass that you need to reach to make it self-sustaining. Yeah, one of the reasons why I think Discord is successful is, the Rocket Pool Discord is successful is because it's a very active community, and because it's so active, there's always somebody around to, dig in and pick something up.
I wanted to add, on a separate note, as the POAP discourse has evolved. I mean, we really see from issuers different needs based on the type of posts outside of stereotypical like ticketing posts. When an issuer posts about their community or posts about a specific question, I think over time from dealing with issuers, like POAP as a whole will understand more like what we need, because issuers will give us that feedback based the community, everyone that's here, based on how you interact with us, will understand how to better serve you, what platforms make more sense.
One of the deterrents for me from discourse is, to be honest, like I'm not there. It is going to a new site, and when I'm on Discord, like I have my 100 kind of communities and my individual conversations, and I'm hopping back and forth between them. And so I'll have like, an hour-long Discord session, and then I'll go to Twitter and Twitter is one of them. I'll have an hour-long Twitter session, and then an hour-long Reddit session. But I don't often go to external sites and spend a lot of time on those. For better or for worse, like I don't like these walled gardens. But what that really makes me think of is Nifty Chat, because Nifty Chat could be a wonderful garden for POAP to flourish, because by using those POAP gated communities, people can congregate and have smaller discussions based on the things they're interested in. It seems like that kind of match made in heaven, even though I acknowledge that Nifty Chat is still nascent.
I've got to echo that. I pretty much only have bandwidth for like 3 or 4 different platforms that I have like accounts for that I spend time on. And so adding another one would be a chore.
It's overload. It's overload. So that's kind of interesting. Maybe one way of looking to resolve this is basically looking at discourse as something that is, call it like further down the rabbit hole, right? Like if you're someone who is maybe so involved in everything governance and big decisions being made that you are willing to go to a different site. Do you understand? I'm trying to figure out like a way to express this, because I'm not feeling I'm not expressing it well. But it's something like the lightweight conversations happening here, and maybe beyond some level of commitment or actionability. Maybe actionability is a good word for it. They have to go to a more persistent place. Because I think one of the things that I worry about with like Discord, Twitter, and Reddit to a slightly lesser extent, although still somewhat, is that they do tend to be very real-time kind of things. It's not frequent, like, with Twitter, by the time 24 hours pass, it's unclear what happened. You're not getting that history back, right? And I mean, there's search, there's bookmarks, but conceptually you get what I'm saying. Discord, maybe with these longer form threads, I kind of see some level of potential. But even then, we'd probably need to look at the information architecture and figure out what we want to do with it, because right now it's not really conducive to that sort of discussion.
Yeah, I don't know how much I represent the average user of anything, but many people know that I am absolutely obsessed. Well, I'm as obsessed with POAP as I am with Rocket Pool. And so I spend many hours in the Rocket Pool Discord, but I don't ever really find time to go to the Rocket Pool governance. I forgot the name of that platform. I don't ever go to it. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm not enough of an engaged user.
Yeah.
Like, if I reach some level of engagement, I'm suddenly going to go to an external website. It is that all of my engagement is in the places that I'm most comfortable interacting in.
Yeah. No, and I hear you. So maybe let me turn this back on you. How do we try to address the problem of how ephemeral things can be in the POAP Discord. I'm not sure how many people there are in the Rocket Pool Discord, but I guess we have quite a number of people in here. I know there's 2,000-ish on this call now, and I'm sure that I can't remember how exactly you check how many people are in the POAP Discord, but there's like a lot. So I guess like it is good and strong moderation, but I think it's probably also more than that, right? So yeah, Superphiz, maybe turning the question to you, how do you make the information slower?
I don't know the goal is slower. I think the engaged people set the tone, and so when someone comes into a new community, they'll begin with inappropriate interactions. Like they'll test jokes that may not be appropriate for that group, but they quickly begin to recognize those norms. And the information really is ephemeral in those, but the community ethos builds over time. And it builds through a lot of thousands and thousands of microtransactions. I can't help but, I can't help but continue to want to experiment with something like Nifty Chat that is so POAP as a first-class citizen, but that doesn't really support this historical documentation thing that it sounds like you're really looking for, but isn't something we have on other platforms.
So, I mean, I'm not sure that even this historical documentation thing is like the goal, right? The goal at some level is keeping the conversations in a level of context that I feel like that Discord may or may not actually support, right? It may be that we here have, in fact, like a different problem, which is around the norms that we have within Discord when we're talking to one another, and what is viewed as a normal conversation versus kind of abnormal conversation, if you will. I'm not going to literally put it like that. So I kind of take what your point is. I think with me, Nifty Chat, so how does that not suffer from the same yet another platform problem that you were discussing with, say, Discourse?
Yeah, and I run into this whole, like, I don't want to promote something just because it's new.
Sure.
I do truly see it as a solution, and it's because it's because POAPs are our interest, and so we have 1,911 people here. They all have different interests within POAP, and so they go to Nifty Chat and they see for each of their POAPs, or many of their POAPs, communities that are based around them, and that's sort of the thing that gives people glue and cohesion. And so the overarching umbrella is POAP, but no two POAP communities are ever going to be the same.
Right, because they're all kind of their own thing.
Yeah. Right. But they all share the common interest. So at the top level, you have everyone having access to this POAP area, but the thing that really gets them there is the individual POAP groups that are going to be where it will really draw people in. And I think that's the thing Discourse misses. There's nothing to draw people in unless they have a complaint. If it's something that has a cohesive unit, like we share the same POAP, like the Genesis depositors POAP. Yeah, I'd love to chat with other people who are Genesis depositors, but I don't know how to find them. That's a way to connect with my people.
So maybe we should do like a better job of promoting Nifty Chat, because honestly, you're right. Like that sounds fundamentally almost like what POAP was at some level designed for, right? Connecting with your people.
Yeah, I think that is, it's early, but I'm just seeing that connection, and there's a part of me, like, I'm continually asking myself in this conversation, like, Fizz, are you promoting something you like instead of trying to solve the issues that POAP wants to solve? But they do seem very interrelated.
No, so I think that you're actually bringing like a very valid and good point to the discussion, right? I don't think it's a matter of you promoting something you like. I think this is it's a good solution, because I think that we seem to be looking at Discourse as a solution to a problem that we think we have. But in fact, the problem that we think we have might be a slightly different problem, which, as you've identified pretty well, is like one of how to avoid having people go to many different platforms. And Nifty Chat, I can definitely see at least how it might offer a different alternative. Then there's a question of like, of course, moving humans, even if you're moving them online, is always hard. But that's more problems to solve for another day.
Yeah, I definitely sort of want to echo something really quick that we were just discussing, and that's it kind of in line with the Nifty Chat stuff, where you're able to make these POAP gated communities, you make the separate rooms, but it really does show you even more. It's a prime example of how POAP is far-reaching. It goes to a lot of communities, so trying to wrangle them all in, it may not even necessarily work because a lot of people aren't necessarily going to care, especially as a user. It's really, I feel like really only people who are interested in actually being the event organizers are the ones who would want to even use something like a discourse. And at the moment, it really is kind of like a ticketing system. And so I think it really does beg the question, why something like the discourse couldn't be transformed into something just like a pure ticketing system, and then the actual speaking about community and things would be on something like a Discord or a Nifty Chat. Any thoughts on that?
Mojo, the good news is that the idea of transforming discourse into a ticketing system is in progress. It's not that we intended it to be like this forever. The further question, of course, is where we have the deep conversations about community, that discourse was a good candidate, but it also seems like we may want to be looking at other candidates. Sorry, Henny, I think I cut you off.
No. So, yeah, just going back to your original question of how we can improve Discord for, Nifty Chat's great for, the auxiliary communities based off of the POAPs. But in terms of supporting the core discussion around the core community of POAP, I'm, again, to bring up the Rocket Pool Discord, I think it's great in many regards. But something that they do there is they heavily utilize threads, which is great for focus discussions. So we'll have one single governance channel, but then everyone has the ability to open up their own thread. So if somebody brings up a topic, then someone can start a thread based off of that topic and just keep that living on for conversation. And then you could either continue to just use that or couple it with the forum as well, just for prosperity's sake and for context for anybody that wants to jump into the conversation later.
So I hear you, Henny, but I think Mojo kind of brought up a good and interesting point. I'm not sure if he even caught that, but there is actually like this valid thing of, okay, so there are the people that are interested in building POAP as in building the protocol. Then there are people who are interested in using POAP as event organizers, or interested in at least participating in figuring out how POAP should be used. Then there is the group of people that's interested in using POAP however they're able to use it, the people that are interested in collecting POAPs for their own communities, right? And it's like the level of involvement with POAP is a spectrum, and there's a distinction between being a user and a community member. One does not necessarily make you the other, right? I think that there is like a discussion to be had there around to what extent is participation in a community somehow the road to belonging to that community, right? I think one thing that you guys don't suffer from so much with the Rocket Pool chat is that at some, correct me, so this is a conjecture I'm making, so correct me if I'm wrong. There are people who use Rocket Pool that maybe don't participate in the Discord, but there are not people who use Rocket Pool that have much reason to spam the Discord.
Yes, you are correct there, unless there's some event happening, but that's with anything.
Yeah. So I think like one of the issues that we have that maybe the Rocket Pool Discord doesn't suffer so much from is having that like diversity of different levels of interest, different motivations in the same space, where my desire to have deep conversations about governance and connecting the world may be incompatible with Mojo's desire to get his codes approved, which may be incompatible with someone else's desire to discuss loyalty programs and their proper application in POAP. And all of those discussions are important discussions to have, but if we try to have them all in the same place, there is like a fragmentation or a loss of focus that confuses everyone. Now that I've dropped that bomb,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So I think we invited JENetics up to the stage because she requested to speak. Hi, JENetics.
Hey guys, sorry.
Also, hi, Rebecca.
Yeah, I've been kind of, watching the thread and talking about, the issues that I've run into from either issuing POAPs for like personal memories versus POAPs for large communities doing large events. And then there's the third one, which is POAPs for physical locations or, that don't have a defined beginning and end period other than this was the day that the physical location started having a POAP and there's no in view end date of when that POAP would be done. And I think those are three different types of POAPs. And at the moment, the form is you start, or it's just a blank form. And there's some areas on the form that I'm like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know why it's here. And then other, I've gotten feedback from other people that only use POAPs when they do major events. To give to people who have visited, that event or they encounter people like, the You've Met Me POAPs or, hey, you went to NFT NYC POAPs. And those people get lost in the daily shuffle of POAP issuing. Because I know several communities, when they went to apply to do POAPs for NFT NYC, they were all rejected. And they came to me extremely frustrated with why, and they wouldn't get an answer. Or their answer would be, well, I know that this is how we used to do it, but this is how we do it now. And then they were like, when did that change? Why did that change? And there was just no place for them to go and educate themselves. And so
having like a regular place that we can communicate things to people, for us is a big step forward. Which it's tragic that that's the case, but it is a big step forward. And I think that kind of brings us a little bit back around to the subject of issuer guidelines and why they're important. Things like particularly, and especially the NFT NYC case, there were particular reasons that we had to deal with, especially like secret websites and their relative insecurity and people trying to do POAP drops with secret websites but basically it's like a lack of a proper venue to transport that information to our issuers that ultimately creates like an information vacuum, which creates a lot of frustration for people that we are hoping to somewhat address and resolve by first introducing issuer guidelines, but second and kind of more importantly, starting to have these conversations around how it is that we structure conversations within the community about things.
Absolutely. I think part of issuing POAPs, like the form when you create a new event, we briefly talked about how it would be great if it would lead people down a journey of what the form of distribution should be. And so, you can have questions like, is this for a small event, medium event, large event, public event, a private event, with trusted participants, because, as we know, secret word, terrible for distributing like on a YouTube channel. And there are things that are being worked on to change the delivery method. But at the moment, secret word could be used if it's for a birthday party. So
yes, like in short, yes, that is badly needed. And I think we are trying to figure out how to make that happen. while still also like so I guess the idea of first of all, one of the things that I was going through a little bit earlier, just chatting on the Slack while I'm here, I really hope our product team is on this call. Like, I really hope the people in the audience, you guys are here somewhere, because this is like gold in terms of things that we know we need to be working on, and getting like genuine feedback from people facing these frustrations in real time. That's really valuable and just super awesome. So thank you for raising these topics. But coming back to the issue of like what you were describing initially, the best way we can get it out fast is via the issuer guidelines. In a perfect world, to be honest, as you are making your distribution, the way that things ideally should work is that you tell us, I'm hosting an event of this size for this kind of audience in this sort of venue, and we say, here is how you should distribute it. Right, like that actually should be a smart thing that the system can recommend to you, rather than something that we force you to guess at, and you need to figure out which page we're on this week. Because you're right, like it is not the best experience. We're trying to build something for, call it like a greater vision, but we understand we are way far from achieving that in terms of what the product capabilities are today, and it's something we're trying to improve.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for that input. Guys, we have got 3 minutes or so left on the call. This has been a really lively conversation. I think I've monopolized maybe enough of it, so I'm wondering if anyone else has some closing thoughts on all of these discussions around guidelines, community participation, information architecture, anything else.
Yeah, we've had a pretty good, almost an hour conversation on this now. We definitely touched on a lot of things here. So, what is something that we can end on here? To be honest, I really liked the conversation of basically the guardrail things. I know we didn't really talk about it too much, and we just sort of touched on it now, but having things in place where the issuer can kind of flow through, and that they're able to, without even thinking about it, know what they need to do, because POAP pretty much gave them what they needed to know right there and then. They didn't necessarily need to go to some sort of discourse post in order to see it. They could literally see it as they're making their POAP. I think that is a good idea. I just wanted to sort of tack that on. But yes, we do have about 2 more minutes in the call, so I want to take some final thoughts on this conversation from anyone that's willing to give it out.
As somebody that has insight into POAP product, I would just say that what we have coming is extremely exciting, and we have a very bright future ahead of us. And all of your input and feedback is extremely helpful in helping shape that. And we understand the pain, and a lot of us are users ourselves, and so we feel it as well. And we have a very bright future ahead of us, and in due time, all of these issues will be resolved. And we're great to have you guys along with us on this journey.
So I think the one thing I'd like to close off on is maybe this idea of like product today is hard for us, but we are getting better. I echo Hani's interpretations that like things seem to be at a rapid clip of improvement, and I'm optimistic about the near future. But what I'm kind of hoping for is that one day we live in a world where issuing POAPs is a process whereby you contemplate what's happening, the thing that you're trying to commemorate, the people who are part of that experience, not so much which delivery method and how secret word, right? At some point it becomes a lot more like about the philosophy of human connection than it is about the mechanics of distributing a badge. And so maybe that's the topic I can close us off on.
All right. So we have reached our hour point. Thank you so much for coming on this week and talking about probably the most important topic that we've even discussed on this community call at all. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get to our community spotlight or our POAP spotlight this week, but I would like to ask Hanny if you could come back on next week. We would definitely love for you to talk about Project Sunshine with us whenever we have more time. But Logic Beach, would you like to go ahead and tell everybody how they're going to be able to claim the POAP from the call this week?
Yes, sir. So for anybody that was here for 10 minutes or so during the call, go into the POAP claim channel and type /claim to claim your POAP. And I already did it and it's working, so job well done me. And while I have the stage here, oh my God, Hanny, great job. Great. Oh, even better. So while I have the stage though, since this is going to happen before the next POAP community call, I just wanted to mention it. On Tuesday at 10:30 Eastern Time, the James Webb Space Telescope is going to be releasing their first images. And something I like to do is popularize science topics using POAP. So the way I'm going to do it is anybody who watches that live stream and DMs me, or rather my, it's called the Astronomy DAO. I'll share this on Twitter too if you follow me. You DM that channel or that Twitter, what do you call that, profile, at the exact moment they show the first images on the live stream. That's how you will claim the POAP. And I'm going to create the POAP from these public domain images from NASA live as they're coming out, and then that'll be the POAP. It's going to be a fun event. It's just a fun, nerdy way for me to share astronomy with other types of nerds, blockchain nerds.
So, Logic Beach, sorry, can you repeat the name of the Twitter account that we need to DM?
Sure, and I'll actually share that right now. https://Twitter.
So maybe don't
There
type
you
it
go.
Maybe let's not type it in the chat because it's supposed to be an inside secret for anyone that's paying attention.
Okay, I will. I mean, that is the Twitter right there, and I will.
Oh, Astronomy DAO, I
this.
see. Okay, very cool. I mean, it's here now, so I will be keeping a close eye on this for my opportunity to participate in, I think, benevolent farming. I think this is
Definitely. I mean, you have to be there. Because I'm seriously, I'm going to cut it off at exactly like 5 seconds after they show it. Like, you need to have it on your Twitter logged in and hit enter as soon as you see it. If you're 5 seconds late, sorry, bud.
Okay, I will set my alarm.
Yeah, 10:30 Eastern Time. I thought I had more to say about this, and I'm pretty sure I did. Oh, I reached out to NASA. I reached out to all of their media people that, you know, do stuff like this. You know how they normally talk about communities doing stuff around this event. So hopefully one of them reaches back out to me. Because, yeah, I put together this whole, like, press event, like, thing that I typed up for them. So hopefully they don't just see it as, like, an NFT scam or something like that, because I feel like that's, a lot of people might think that about anything that mentions NFTs.
You reached out to NASA?
I did. I reached out to all or at least 3 of their media people about, hey, you know, if anyone watches the show and they want to earn, like, a quote unquote, and I use this terminology a lot when I'm talking about POAPs, but, like, it's sort of like a digital merit badge. You know, you were there, you did a thing. And so I try to use that language with people that aren't in the know. And so hopefully one of them was like, hey, yeah, that sounds cool. Because it'd be amazing if people are like, hey, go DM this guy and
you know,
get your badge.
I just want to, like, take a brief pause here. Because, like, moments like this is when I remember that there probably is some hope that we're going to make it. Logic Beach, thank you for reaching out to NASA on our behalf to spread the good word of POAP. Truly it means, like, you don't know how much it means.
Yeah, that's exciting. You know, I felt kind of like, okay, this might not do anything, but hey, what if it did? What if this actually worked? And NASA live stream with JWST was like, go message Astronomy DAO and earn your free NFT merit badge or something. I don't know, how cool would that be?
I love that you're calling them digital merit badges. So I had this event with like 400 of my POAPs this week. It's kind of a thing that's past now. But I was explaining it to my wife, and I was like, yeah, 400 digital merit badges. And that was like the first time she ever connected with what POAP meant to me. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a good vernacular, like a really good phrase to describe it to, like, anybody, you know? Like, it's perfect. Yeah, so yeah, 10:30 Tuesday. Let's go.
Okay,
Awesome.
guys.
Yes,
Any
Isabel?
final thoughts?
Yeah, I really hope that I can pull off a live stream. I've never done it before. Next Tuesday. Anyways, I'm still on it. Good call, everybody.
Logic Beach, we wish you the best of luck. Our hearts are with you, and our thoughts are with you too.
To the moon.
Okay, to the moon. I'm pretty sure there's like a cringy acronym I'm supposed to say right now, but I'm not going to do it. Guys, take care of yourselves, and we'll all keep up.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you everybody for coming out to the POAP Community Call number 26. Thanks everyone. See you next week.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.